This is lecture 18 on urban transportation planning. In this lecture, we will continue our discussion on modal split analysis. Before we proceed further with the discussion, let us try to quickly recapitulate what we did in the previous class. We started our discussion in the previous class with mode choice analysis under binary choice condition, and we found that the application of logit model of mode choice can be transformed into a simple linear regression equation. Still, the regression equation can be used as mode choice model, and it is possible to calibrate the regression equation for practical application. Then we just discussed about a case study involving choice between bus and rail, a binary choice situation, and discussed in detail about the data requirement for development of mode choice model using regression analysis. We found that by simple data set involving the actual travel by the two modes, travel time implication with respect to the two modes, and travel cost implication, it is possible to analyze the mode choice to a satisfactory extent. In fact, if we can calculate the travel time difference, travel cost difference, and some distinction when the distance involved in travel is more than certain limit, it is possible to calibrate a mode choice model for binary choice situation. And then we also discussed about the methodology of presenting the result in such a way that the decision makers can appreciate the results of your analysis, and this can be really used as a tool for decision making. In that context only, we discussed about modal split probability curve. First, when the travel distance is greater than 400 kilometers with dummy variable value to be 1. We have made this curve by relating the travel cost difference and probability of travel by bus, and the variation of travel time difference is taken into account by making a set of plots for different travel time differences, and we have taken care of the value of q by assigning only one value for this particular plot, q is equal to 1. We also discussed about the usefulness of this kind of plot. I gave an example of railways desiring to increase the fare in such a way that the fare difference or the cost difference becomes 0.06 from the earlier value of 0.03. When the time difference is 0, as we saw earlier, the share by bus will be around 20%, and when the railways increases the cost of travel in such a way that CT minus CB becomes 0.06, then you will find that there is an increase in the share of bus to an extent of 5%. So, railways will be losing some traffic to bus service. Let us say railways is interested to introduce a high speed train in such a way that the travel time between the train and the bus is really, the time difference is really significant. Let us say the time difference becomes -4 in a particular case, TT minus TB becomes -4. That means train is faster than bus, train travel time is less, that is why we get a negative number compared to the initial value where there is no time difference at all. And if you look at the significance of this kind of decision or policy, in respect of travel speed for this particular cost difference. For example, when there is no time difference, the share by bus is going to be 25%. When you make your train faster to have a t value of -4, you will find that there is a significant fall in the share by bus. It is going to be about 7%. So, the train will be able to attract a significant proportion of bus travelers to train. So, this is how you can really make use of this kind of plots for taking policy decisions. You can visualize the future scenarios by thinking or just applying different policy options. That is the usefulness of this kind of plots. So, this implies that the logit model that we study is not just a theoretical exercise, it has got a very important practical application. So, the only difference is the way you make the model to work, the way you present your results, that is very important. Okay. On the same lines, you can make plots for this situation where q is equal to 0. The curves are going to be slightly different, otherwise there is not much of difference as far as the principle of application is concerned. Earlier we saw when the travel cost difference is 0.03, when the travel time difference is 0, the share by bus in the previous case was around 20%, whereas here we find it is nearly 30%. Are you able to recollect? For the same situation, we found in the previous plot it was just 20%. Now we find here for the same situation the share by bus is more. Why? Distance is less. So, the preference of train gets reduced compared to the earlier case. So, bus takes an additional share. So, that is reflected in the presentation. That is very important. Okay. Now, with this understanding, let us try to understand in general what we mean by calibration of logit model of mode choice for any situation. Could be a binary choice or a multiple case with more than 2 choices involved. In general, we can explain calibration of logit model is nothing but estimation of logit model of mode choice, estimating the coefficients. That is what we do through calibration. Can be stated as follows: estimation of logit model of mode choice entails the selection of attributes. That is the first step. You have to select the attributes to formulate your utility function. Then attribute coefficients through a calibration process, and mode specific constants, if any, that maximize the probability of replicating observed mode choices. Very important, replicating observed mode choices of individuals as revealed in a base year sample, because we collect the data for base year condition, both related to actual mode choice and other attributes of the alternative modes. The information is collected for base year condition. Base year sample drawn from the population under investigation. This implies you can develop model through sampling exercise also. Only thing is you should see that the sample really represents the population. Once you are convinced, you can use the sample data to develop mode choice models, right. The most common technique used for the estimation of the parameter values is known as the maximum likelihood method. Maximum likelihood method. We are not going to discuss about maximum likelihood method, as it is beyond the scope of this particular course. Involves again detailed knowledge on probability and statistics. Okay, once you gain that level of knowledge you will be able to understand this. In any case, I will not be covering this part since it is beyond the scope of this particular course. Okay. You should know that there is a method available for calibration of logit model involving any number of alternatives. Multinomial logit situation can be dealt with by maximum likelihood method of estimation of parameters, right. Those who are interested may contact me later, I can give you some handouts related to this particular aspect. Let us proceed further to see how this maximum likelihood method was applied for a particular case. Calibration or estimation of logit model of mode choice in urban travel, a case study. The city chosen for this study is Tiruchirappalli city, about which I have told you briefly earlier, in Tamil Nadu state, India. The city is located almost at the geometric center of Tamil Nadu state. The population of the study area, the planning area of the city at the time of study was around 1 million population. And to give you some idea about the travel pattern in the city, I will just give you two important statistics, and we will also try to compare this with situation in developed countries. This pie diagram shows you the details of percentage proportion of trips made for different purposes. You can see that for work about 49% of the total trips are made only for work. Education 45% of the total, and for all other purposes, which includes shopping, recreation, personal business and so on, altogether only 6%. It is a very interesting extreme case. Tiruchirappalli city's economy is agro based, lot of agricultural operation around the city. The periphery of the city is full of paddy fields, agricultural land, and two major rivers crisscross this city, Kaveri and Kolarone rivers. Later on I will show you the map of the city when we discuss about other aspects on the transportation system planning in general. So the economy is agro based, so a lot of agricultural operation is going on. That is why most of the trips are related to low income group or middle income group of travelers. You may wonder what happened to the shopping trips, social recreational trips and so on, because the number shown here is very small, 6%. Most of the times people do their shopping in cities like Tiruchirappalli in the workplace itself. There will be shops around, so there may not be exclusively separate trips made for shopping purpose. They also cannot afford to make such trips for want of money to make trips as well as for want of time. So in such a case this could be the scenario. Let us compare this with the information pertaining to another city about which you also know, the Braunschweig city in Germany. Okay. This is the scenario in the city of Braunschweig. You can see the percentage of trips made for social and recreational purpose, 41%, business 6%, education 11%, work 17%, shopping 25%. Compare the percentage of educational trips, 11% in Braunschweig city and 45% in the city of Tiruchirappalli. Does it mean that Germans are not educated that well compared to people in Tiruchirappalli city? Look at the percentage of work trips, 17% in Braunschweig and 49% in Tiruchirappalli. Again, we should not infer that Germans are not working that hard compared to people in Tiruchirappalli city. Why then the percentages are less in the case of Braunschweig compared to Tiruchirappalli?
The total trips made in the Braunschweig city must be much higher. So the percentile distribution of work is only 17%.
Yeah, that is a point. The total trips made or the mobility rate is very high. That is how we get trips made for social and recreational purposes to be 41%. Okay. So total number of trips made are large, involving purposes other than work and education. That is how when you work out the relative percentage, the percentages become very small as just 11% and 17%. Whereas in Tiruchirappalli city, almost all the trips are made for only work and education. 94% of the total of the trips are made only for work and education. Obviously, the percentages are bound to be very high. That is the difference. Okay. The point here is, please understand the difference in the travel pattern in a city of developing country and another city in a developed country. Also, we need to realize that sometime later Tiruchirappalli may transform into Braunschweig. Our country is developing, it is going to be like this. So, we need to be prepared to meet the future changed travel pattern while planning for transportation system. That is the point made here. It is not just for comparison and forgetting. The important message is there, we are developing and the pattern is going to be just similar to what is existing in developed countries. We need to change our mindset and orient our planning policies to meet this kind of changed travel scenarios in the future. Let us look at another important information pertaining to Tiruchirappalli city, percentage proportion of trips made by different modes, simply modal split in Tiruchirappalli city. Trips made by foot 45%, by private transport vehicles including motorized two-wheelers, cars and so on 9%, intermediate public transport, auto rickshaw, cycle rickshaw, taxi altogether 3%, bicycle 23%, public transport 20%. For your information, in Tiruchirappalli city at the time of the study, bus was the only public transport mode available. The share of bus is 20% of the total trips. One important point to be noted here is, trips made by foot constitutes a major chunk of the total, 45%. This is an extreme case. Normally, trips made by foot in most Indian cities will be around 30%, 25 to 35. This is an extreme case mainly because of the fact that I mentioned earlier. Lot of agricultural workers, they just walk for any purpose, there is no possibility of making use of other modes, mostly they walk. Another point is, when you account for trips made by foot, in this particular case trips of all lengths were put together. By foot we make trips for different purposes. Trip lengths might be varying from just 50 meters to several kilometers. All these trips are put together, you get a higher value. Or if you consider trips of half a kilometer length and more as trips and ignore trips of length less than half a kilometer for a study, then probably it may not be 45%, it will be much less. So, these are the two possible reasons for this higher percentage of trips made by foot. Okay. Let us compare a similar information pertaining to Braunschweig city. Trips made by car 47%, foot 24%, very significant. Bicycle 15%, public transport still I would say significant 14%. So, an interesting point to note that most European cities have a good public transport system. There is a reasonable patronage for public transport. So, about 14% of the people in this city are using public transport, but the worry is 47% of trips made by car. Okay. So, cars occupy almost the entire road space and emits a lot of poisonous gases. So, that is their problem. And look at the contrasting scenario between Tiruchirappalli and Braunschweig city. Do you think that we are also tending towards the model split scenario shown for Braunschweig? We are tending. In my opinion, we may not reach the exact figures shown for this city, but definitely trips made by personal vehicles like cars and motorized two-wheelers are going to increase to a very significant extent, right. This is the result of economic growth in any country, which is unavoidable, but with a very good public transport system providing high level of service, it is possible to contain the growth of trips made by personal vehicles. One standing example of success of this kind of policy is Singapore. Singapore has got a very good public transit system. Metro rail is connecting almost all the activity centers. When you have a good public transit system and when there is some restriction on owning personal vehicles, obviously people tend to make use of public transport more for more number of trips. And if that is going to happen here in our cities, then probably we can anticipate some at least lesser rate of growth of travel or trips made by personal vehicles. It is expected to happen in the perception of the Ministry of Urban Development. We have urban transport policy for Government of India. Urban transport policy clearly indicates that the future transport policy should be towards patronizing public transport, patronizing the use of non-motorized vehicles. That is the essence of urban transport policy of Government of India. And in funding major transportation projects, decision about giving loan for implementing transportation projects are checked or based on the policy decision of the Government of India. If a state government is asking for about few hundred crores of rupees to construct a flyover, the money may not be provided. If the government is asking for several crores of rupees for developing a bicycle track network in a town, you will get money immediately. So, that is a policy of Government of India as of now. So, they are trying to enforce to some extent the policy of sustainable transportation system development. So, if we succeed, probably we may not come to this level, there will be some containment. Let us proceed further to see how to calibrate the logit model of mode choice when we come across several alternatives for choice for travel. This is what we discussed just now, and when we do mode choice analysis, it is necessary that the data is segmented. Why should we segment data for mode choice analysis? See, we collect information about the total number of trips made per day by the residents in an urban area and the modes they have used for making the trips, and other related information like time of the start of the trip, time of ending of the trip, and if there are more than one mode used for the travel, all such information can be collected. And we cannot put all the information together and develop one mode choice model. It may not work. The reason is as follows. Number one, all the travelers may not have same number of alternatives available for travel. Some may have only 2 alternatives, some may have 3 alternatives, some may have even 4 alternatives. So, when alternatives available for travel are different, you cannot just group all the travelers with different alternatives being available for making the trips. The model will not work. So, there is a need to segregate the data based on the alternatives or the choice set available for travel. That is an important basis. We must see that the data set that you use for a particular model contains travelers with only one set of choices, either 3 alternatives or 2 alternatives or whatever may be the number of alternatives. That is one condition. Then as much as possible we must see that the data set pertain to a particular socio-economic group of travelers. Even when the choice set is same, when the economic status changes, the mode choice pattern changes. Households owning say motorcycle, car, bicycle put as one category, this category of households may have different levels of income within that group. So, it is likely that based on the economic status, some households use more of cars, some use less of cars, more of two-wheelers and so on, right. So, there is a need to segregate the data set based on economic characteristics of the travelers. Any other problem with regard to homogenizing the data set, or in other words what I mean here is your data set should be homogeneous, it should not be heterogeneous involving all categories of travelers. You may recall when we initially discussed about mode choice analysis, we identified 3 important baskets wherefrom you can identify or pick the factors influencing mode choice. One basket pertaining to the socio-economic characteristics of the travelers, another basket pertaining to the transport system characteristics, third basket pertaining to the trip characteristics. The 2 important trip characteristics that we identified were trip purpose and trip length, is not it? These were the 2 important characteristics of trips which may influence mode choice. I think all of you will agree with me that trip purpose will influence mode choice to a significant extent. Think of a person in a household going for work and the mode choice process, and think of few members of a family going for a social purpose, attending marriage or some other social event. The mode choice is likely to be totally different from the choice of mode for work, is not it? So, unless we bring in trip purpose into data segmentation process, our mode choice modeling may not be accurate, may not be able to replicate the reality. So, the moral of the story is that we need to have homogeneous data set for mode choice modeling. Homogeneity can be achieved by segregating data based on trip purpose, based on socio-economic characteristics of travelers, and based on the choice set, number of choices available for travel, right. So, these were the approaches adopted for modeling mode choice in this particular case. So, the trips were segregated based on trip purpose. We first want to model mode choice of trips made for work alone, modeling work trips or modeling mode choice of work trips. And I am just showing you vehicle ownership as another factor. This was introduced here as a proxy for economic status of the traveler, which is appropriate for our condition. As I said earlier, this is inappropriate for conditions prevailing in developed countries. When a household is owning only bicycle, the vehicle ownership reflects the overall economic status. Owning only motorcycle reflects the economic status of a household. Owning car definitely reflects economic status. So, as of now, it is possible to use vehicle ownership as a proxy for economic status of travelers and our conditions. Maybe after some time we may have to change, right. So, divide the travelers into 4 categories as shown here. No vehicle owning category of travelers, bicycle owning group of travelers, two-wheeler owning group of travelers, and car owning group of travelers, right. Now, we have come to 2 levels of segmentation, one based on trip purpose, that is complete. Then we have divided based on economic characteristics of the travelers, right. Then we must look into the other aspect of the choice set being same for the different categories of travelers. Two-wheeler owning households may also own a bicycle or may not own a bicycle. So, when they own a bicycle, then number of alternatives will be different. When they do not, alternatives are going to be one less than the other case. So, that should be taken into account. Then I am introducing another aspect, namely residential location. This was very special for this particular city. There could be situation in an urban area where the modal characteristics change over space in respect of a particular mode. In urban areas, you have city center, then the municipal area surrounding the city center, and then the peripheral areas. If you look at carefully the characteristics, operating characteristics of public transport service like bus service, in the city core area, you will find the bus frequency to be very good, and the bus stop spacing will be reasonable because people will be getting in and getting out at frequent intervals. You will find that bus stop spacing is relatively closer in the CBD and surrounding areas, right, and farther apart when you go to the peripheral areas, and the frequency of bus service will be much better in the central portion compared to the frequency service in the far flung peripheral areas. And please remember, people choose modes for travel based on the modal characteristics or the characteristics of different alternative modes available. Obviously, you can easily guess the central portion bus will be more attractive because frequency is better and the walking access distance or access time is going to be less because you have good number of bus stops available at frequent intervals. Whereas in peripheral areas, the attractiveness of bus is likely to be less. The transport system characteristics changes over space. In certain urban areas, if you feel that this change is not significant, then it is fine. There is no need to worry about this particular aspect. When there is a change, you must do something about it. Otherwise, you will treat bus to be having same characteristics, same attractiveness over the whole of the urban area and develop a model which may not replicate the reality. Okay. You can easily guess people living in peripheral areas will use more of bicycle, more of motorcycles and less of bus compared to people living in central part, isn't it? So, this aspect has to be brought into your modeling process, otherwise the model will not work. That is why we discussed about the standards, the objectives at the beginning, you may recall. We fixed one of the standards as minimum frequency of bus service on any route to be at least 3 per hour and so on, isn't it? These standards may or may not be possible to be implemented. Okay. If it is not implemented, then this problem arises. Now, how to take care of this variation of system characteristics or modal characteristics over space? These variations are felt by those who are living in different areas. Those who are living in central area treat bus as a relatively better mode. Those who are living in peripheral areas treat bus as relatively inferior mode, isn't it? So, we have to categorize travelers based on their location of residence. Okay. So, that is what has been done here. For no vehicle owning category of travelers, the data set was again subdivided based on residential location as central area, urban area and suburban area. Central area is just CBD and surrounding areas. Urban area is area beyond central area but within municipal limit, that is urban area, and the area beyond municipal limit is taken here in this particular case as suburban area. And similarly, for the other category, bicycle owning travelers, the same categorization was applied. Bicycle owning group, but living in central area, urban area and suburban area. And this categorization was not extended to the other two categories of or other three categories of travelers. Why? Any response? It was felt it is sufficient to categorize travelers based on residential location only for these two groups, no vehicle owning group and bicycle owning group. Please remember, this categorization is mainly because of the reason that the characteristics of bus mode changes significantly over space. Who are the major users of bus service? Captive riders, no vehicle owning category, and then or in general you can say economically weaker and lower middle class people will use bus service extensively. And we can identify these two groups based on vehicle ownership as no vehicle owning category and bicycle owning category. Once I own a motorized two-wheeler, some of them might use bus service, the proportion is going to be much less, and the advantage that you will derive based on this subdivision may not be significant even if you apply this categorization to other categories of travelers. We in fact tried applying this subdivision for other categories and found that the advantage was not significant, that is why it was stopped with these two categories for this particular case. Clear? So, this picture shows you very clearly the approach for data segmentation for mode choice analysis. There are three bases for segmenting data. There could be additional bases as we have come across here. This is the fourth one, based on a residential location when there is a change significant change in a modal characteristic, right. And this is how it was done. Let us see how the variables were identified for modeling mode choice for work trips. We are confining our discussion to only work trips. So, let us put the information in a tabular form, notation used and description of the variable. The first variable was age. Age of trip maker was taken as 1 if age is greater than 55 years and 0 otherwise. This was necessary to distinguish between people in service and retired employees of different organizations. Retirement age at that time was 55 years. Obviously, when we are concerned about work trips, this categorization is very important, whether the person is retired person or still in service has to be known. That is how age was brought in as a very important variable, right. Then sex, particularly in developing countries, sex is also a factor influencing mode choice. Think of the ladies and gents using bicycle in small towns and villages. Obviously, proportion of girls and ladies using bicycle is much less compared to gentlemen and boys, right. So, as long as there is a significant factor, we have to use such factors, even though this may not be significant in a developed country, okay. And sex of trip maker taken as 1 if the trip maker is female and 0 if male. This is relationship to head of the household, abbreviated as REL head, relationship of that particular traveler, okay, to the head of the household. Normally households will have one head. If some households have more than one head, that is a different story. Normally households will have only one head, and the head of the household under Indian condition controls the mobility pattern of a household to a very significant extent, because head of the household is taking care of most of the activities like shopping, right, and other activities are mainly taken care of by the head of the household. That means there is a preference given to the head of the household when a household is owning a particular type of vehicle. Let us say a household is owning motorcycle, we will find that more frequently only head of the household is using motorcycle, other members may very rarely make use of the motorized two-wheeler. So, how to bring in this into your modeling, which is a real reflection of Indian condition. So, you must first identify whether the traveler that you consider is a head of the household or other members of the family, okay. So, that is how this variable has been brought into the picture. Relationship to head of household taken as 1 if the trip maker is head of the household and 0 otherwise, okay. There is a preference in provision of vehicle to the head of the household. This has to be brought into your modeling, right. Number of bicycles, it is not simply vehicle ownership. Please note, here we have defined vehicle ownership differently. It is defined as number of bicycles per worker in a household, because we are concerned about modeling mode choice for work trips. Instead of taking like this, if you take a bicycle ownership as absolute number, so 1 bicycle per household, 2 bicycle per household, then a small household might own 2 bicycles and a large household might own only 1 bicycle. Then this absolute number does not reflect the availability of bicycle to the members of the family, does not it. So, here the availability for work trip is reflected directly because you are modifying the vehicle ownership as number of bicycles per worker in a household. If there are more workers, less bicycles, availability less, is not it? More bicycle, more workers, you can easily have a feel of the vehicle availability for making work trips. That is the idea. Clear? Similarly, motorcycle ownership. Number of two-wheelers, motorized two-wheelers in fact, per worker in a household. Again, vehicle ownership per worker in a household. Then travel time, of course, is a major factor. Time implication with regard to a particular mode influences mode choice. Travel time is nothing but door to door travel time in minutes. If you are using public transit, walking time to bus stop should be accounted for. It is only door to door travel time. Cost. Travel cost expressed as the percentage of daily wage rate of trip maker. I think now you know why we are expressing travel cost as percentage of the trip maker's wage rate or monthly income. What is the purpose? You cannot introduce travel cost in absolute terms because it will not reflect the mode choice effect. Unless the exact impact of the expenditure on a traveler is reflected by some form, you will not be able to make use of travel cost as a variable influencing mode choice. So that is why it is expressed as a percentage of the wage rate or monthly income of the traveler, right. For a person who is earning a lot of money, travel expenditure will be negligible, small amount. So he or she may not mind taking an expensive mode. For a person earning less money, the expenditure is more, obviously such people will choose a cheaper mode. So that has to be brought into our modeling process. Then walk dummy variable. This is a mode specific constant. Why walk dummy variable? See, there could be a situation where there are two alternative modes available for travel, walk and public transit. For no vehicle owning category, these are the two alternative modes available for travel, walk and public transit. If you take a household, there may be people who will not be able to even make a trip by foot, because your model is going to be developed based on individual's traveler category, I mean characteristics, is not it? You consider each and every individual as separate entity. So when individual's characteristic is totally different in respect of available modes within a particular category, how to bring in that situation into a modeling? When there are 5 people in a household, there may be one elderly person who cannot even walk short distances, still he or she might make trip using transit, is not it? And in that case we must bring in that situation by bringing in this kind of variable. You can say when a person is unable to make use of walk or foot as a mode of transport, give the value for the variable, or introduce that as dummy variable, give the value 0. When all others are able to make use of this as an alternative mode, give the value as 1, 0 or 1, so that this situation is also brought into the picture into your modeling process. That is why we introduce this kind of dummy variable for different modes. Bicycle dummy. Similarly, for some, bicycle may not be an alternative. A family may own a bicycle, all other members except one may have 3 alternatives for travel, and one of the members will have only 2 alternatives for travel because bicycling may not be possible for that particular member. but you get that data also into your modeling process, because that person is traveling, choosing modes, you have to bring in that information into your modeling process. So use 0 for this variable, okay, bicycle dummy, when a person is not able to use bicycle even though it is available as an alternative mode, right. And similarly, motorized two-wheeler dummy. A household may own a motorcycle, one person will never be using motorcycle, then why treating motorcycle as an alternative for that individual? Give 0 for the variable motorcycle for that person and 1 for others, clear. So this is how we need to identify the variables and assign values. Interestingly, you can find that lot of binary variables have been introduced to bring in various socio-economic factors, right. Age is treated as binary variable, sex again a binary variable, relationship to head of the household again binary variable, only number of bicycle, number of motorized two-wheeler and travel time and cost or the variables for which we will actually collect information. And then walk dummy, bicycle dummy, two-wheeler dummy, again binary variables, okay. So we have so many binary variables in our modeling process. This is the reality. We will have a lot of binary variables to distinguish between individuals, because we do modeling at a very high disaggregate level, treating each and every individual as separate entity. That leads to this process of identification of variables, right. To summarize what we did in this class, even though brief, we try to generally understand what is meant by calibration of logit model of mode choice in general, and then we considered a case study to understand the application of logit model of mode choice, namely Tiruchirappalli city, and we compared two important travel pattern information of Tiruchirappalli city with Braunschweig in respect of trips made for different purposes, and then the mode choice scenario in Tiruchirappalli and Braunschweig city, and realize that the scenarios are distinctly different from one another. Simultaneously understood that Tiruchirappalli is slowly tending towards Braunschweig, and we should be prepared to accommodate the likely changes in the future. Then we actually considered data segmentation process for mode choice analysis, starting from segmenting data based on trip purpose, and then segmenting data based on socio-economic characteristics of travelers, and segmenting data based on alternatives available. This was automatically done when we categorize travelers based on vehicle ownership. That is how the alternatives were already fixed. Once we categorize travelers based on vehicle ownership, number of alternatives becomes same, right. And then we also discussed about a special situation where characteristics of a particular mode is changing over space, and learned how to accommodate this variation in the modeling process. And finally, we discussed about identification of a set of variables for mode choice modeling. With this, we will conclude our discussion for today. We will continue the discussion in the next class.